Hi friends, so we have a case here that I got sent. It's an upper and lower trio scan. Not the best, but we have some ways of rectifying the situation. So on the lower scan, the issue is we don't have enough distally scanned. Um, the depth of the vestibule is somewhat shallow here, which is not a huge problem. But here on the lingual, we also have some issues where parts of the skin are kind of overlapping. On the upper, the lower, you can see. So the palette looks really good. Even goes all the way up to the anular notches, so it's pretty useful scan. I think we're replacing number 7 down the line for the flipper, so that's not going to be a problem. We have enough tissue here that we can work with. Okay, but with the lower, the situation is a little bit more difficult. So the doctor actually sent me a stone cast that I scanned in, but I don't have a usable bite to articulate it with the upper because you see it's not matching up. So the upper and lower on the scans are matching up on the bite, but the lower new stone model that I scanned is actually in different orientation. So I need to realign this lower and create models that I can actually work with. So what I'm actually going to do is let me just bring in Medit link. I'm going to create a new case, and we're actually going to call this one Diane T. All right. So first things first, let's open up this case, and we're actually going to attach the files that we're going to be using. They're going to be put right here. So shift. So these two. One more. It's going to be this one. Okay. So if we're going to go into File Viewer, we can see that we have these two scans, and we have this one. And this one is not in line with the other two, which we need to change. But before we do that, let's get rid of this so you can see. These are the DCM files. I need to be able to convert those into the STL files. I'm just going to use my DCM converter. That's going to convert my files. It's just a one button thing. It's going to convert my files into the STL right away. All right, so we're good there. But now I need to align this scan and my new scan to be in the same orientation. So if I go into Medit Design, there's an option there to align scans. So I'm going to be working with this one and this one. Right? And this option right here on top, alignment mode. So when I click it, now I don't remember half the time which one's reference and which one's target. I think target is the main object and reference is the other way around. Well, let's leave it as is and see if it works or not. If it doesn't, we can just run it again. So confirm this. And we're not going to do automatic alignment. We're just going to do manual alignment. And we're going to choose a point here and a point here and see if it aligns. Looks like it aligned well. So we're just going to click OK. So we're actually not going to override anything for a couple of reasons. Number one, I like to save the old files where they're at, and especially if I didn't align them correctly, I'll just export them as new files, and I could always do the alignment again, export them again. So they're going to save them as Stone Scan 2. Confirm that. And exit program after saving. We're going to click that, and we're going to save that. We're going to see where we're at. It looks like it aligned it just fine, so it was proper way to do that. So now we're actually going to create models from this and this, these two scans right here. Okay, so I'm going to click onto Meta Design from this, not Meta Design, I'm sorry, Model Builder, and we're actually going to use the Stone Scan 2. We're going to put that in the mandible, and we're going to use the upper because that hasn't changed for the maxilla. Confirm that. Now we have this aligned. So in the first area, we're going to click right here, and we're going to select the area we're going to use for our model. Now this one, we're going to select the whole thing. This one, we have to select a little bit bigger area than this. So let's start off by, let's put it a little bit wide. I can always go back and add to it and move it. It's not a problem. Don't need all of this. So obviously I'm not going to extend it all the way out here. Okay, let's see if I need to add a little bit to it. So I'm going to choose my brush. This area right here. Let's choose the selection mode. I don't need this here. Don't need any of this. Don't need any of this here. It's probably an easier, cleaner way to do this. I just don't know it yet because I'm always learning. Oops, wrong brush. Need to select, not deselecting this area. Yeah, that looks like about the area we're going to be utilizing for our model. Okay, good. So next thing we're going to do is edit mode. Edit mode allows us to close off some holes. I'm going to try to see if it works or not. Sort of didn't. I'll do that later in Mesh Mixer because sometimes it just too many errors in the mesh and doesn't work very well here. I'm going to leave this one as is as well. Let's move forward to the next step, aligning the plane of occlusion. Actually, in the newer version, just aligns it all by itself really well. You can make further adjustments if you wanted to, but this looks pretty well aligned to me. So I'm going to switch next to our basis. I like to do the actual honeycomb grid with areas to be lifted off, usually with a spatula with some vent holes as well. Kind of the best of both worlds. It's not a solid model, but it's also not a completely hollow model, so it has structure. But because it's not fully solid, it's a lot easier to print. It's lighter, it uses less resin, and there's not as much suction on the FEP film or FEP, whatever you use. Okay, now you can make your bases taller or shorter. Now, once you go past a certain point, it turns orange. That means you can't go any lower than this. So this is the lowest you can do on the basis. I'm gonna skip the die part because I don't need any dies and switch to articulator mode. Now it's going to create the articulation pins. Usually does a 3-pin articulation. You can change those if you wanted to. You're gonna see here it's going to create them. It takes a little bit of time because all it's doing is just doing all the math and everything else and connecting all the triangles and such, making sure everything's working properly. Usually takes about 15-20 seconds. Now with this particular scan, it looks like we have an issue. Usually when you have a periodontal involved patient, a lot of times when they're biting down, the teeth will move and they can cause some issues where the scans are penetrating each other. Now, depending which is more important, you're going to usually remove the overlapping data from the opposing one. Now, for me, because I'm only adjusting one tooth on the upper, so I'm actually, and on the lower, I don't really need the actual occlusion portion of it. Not too worried about it because my clasps are not going to be anywhere in the sizal edges, so I'm just going to remove it from the mandible. It's actually going to be the easiest for me, in my opinion. It's going to remove that discrepancy. Okay, so it created these 3 pins. Now I have the diameter preset because it usually starts with like 5 millimeters. I have it a little bit thicker at 6 millimeters, just because when it prints it, I feel like it creates a better, more stable print without warping down the line. I can change attachments when I want, if I wanted to. Have all these options already pre-designed in there, and I can bring more if I wanted to. STL files and make that attachment. So it's actually pretty cool stuff. Medit is constantly making their software better and stuff. But you can see I have those holes here, and this one's actually closed up, so it doesn't look too bad. But I still have those holes right here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to just export this. Finish this up and then export it. And I'm going to take that upper file with holes. I'm going to save that. And actually just right here, I'm going to export all the files right here. And let's open up these files right here. I don't need this anymore. I can actually close the Medit link. But if we look at this folder, I have all the other files I was working with, but I have my maxilla and the mandible, which we built. So if I actually open a maxilla file with Mesh Mixer, it's going to show me the file. And you see that blue right here, those are the holes, right? So if I just simply go into Analysis Inspector, it's going to show me all these little errors that I have going on. So I just have to click Auto Repair All, and it closes up all those holes for me, so I don't have any problems. And if I have little areas right here where I try to fix the holes in Medit link, I can actually go into Select and make sure the size of my brush is kind of small. I'll just select those areas right here. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to be removing that tooth anyways, but if you just want to clean up your scans a little bit, you can select and go into Edit, Erase, and Fill, and it'll just smooth that scan up, and you can clear that selection, okay? And you can also bring in the mandible file. You want to append it, not replace it. And also you can run Inspector on that, and it shows me that I have a couple of errors in my mesh here. Those are probably not important at all. It's probably just something going on there. But I can repair them just in case. Make sure everything looks good. And now I can just have to slice this and print these files, and I can utilize them to fabricate my try-in or try-in and process, whatever, with this case. Now, because these are going to be printed, I won't be able to work on them for regular processing. I guess you could, it's just a little bit of a hassle. So we usually just duplicate these in stone and work that way. But at least this way we have the models we can duplicate, and we have the byte registration we can copy and transfer. So that's pretty much my workflow for fixing stuff like that. Hope it helps you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.